me started so I could get myself out this situation.
The poor people, it's pretty tough.
Imagine a day when you have no home to return to, not just once, but for weeks, months, even years. In Florida, over 31,000 people live this reality every day. Every tent, every car holds a story of loss and survival. Yet, within that darkness, there is strength and resilience. Today's video will take you inside the lives of Florida's homeless, to hear their challenges and hopes firsthand. This isn't just a story of hardship. It's a call to action, to recognize, to empathize, and to help build a better future. These aren't just numbers. They are people with dreams, hopes, and the right to live with dignity. If you find value in this story, please like, subscribe, and share to help amplify their voices. The reality of homelessness in Florida. Florida's homelessness crisis is growing at an alarming pace. In 2023, there were roughly 30,809 people experiencing homelessness across the state. That number has risen again in 2024, reaching 31,362, a troubling increase that shows no signs of slowing down. What's even more concerning is the spike in the number of unsheltered individuals. Those forced to sleep on the streets, in cars, or makeshift encampments, which has jumped by nearly 10%. Meanwhile, the availability of shelter beds has actually decreased by over 5%, leaving fewer safe places for people in need to turn to. This combination of rising demand and shrinking resources creates a vicious cycle of instability. Thousands of Floridians wake up every day uncertain where they'll sleep that night or if they'll find a warm, safe place at all. Many are caught in this endless struggle to survive, facing harsh conditions that most of us can barely imagine. It's important to remember that homelessness isn't just a statistic, it's made up of real people with stories, hopes, and challenges. The growing numbers reflect deeper problems like skyrocketing housing costs, stagnant wages, and insufficient social services. Without meaningful intervention, this crisis will only deepen. But with awareness and action, there's still hope to turn things around for Florida's most vulnerable. Root causes of the crisis. When we talk about the crisis of homelessness in Florida, it's important to start by busting one of the biggest myths out there. Being homeless isn't a personal choice. Too many people assume that folks end up on the streets because of bad decisions or lack of effort. The truth is far more complex and deeply rooted in circumstances beyond anyone's control. One of the most immediate causes people face is the sudden spike in rent prices, with the cost of housing soaring faster than wages can keep up. Even working families find themselves priced out of their communities overnight. Imagine having a steady job but still not being able to afford a place to live because rents jump unexpectedly. It's a harsh reality that's pushing thousands into instability. Add to that the stagnation of wages. While expenses climb, many jobs don't offer raises or benefits that keep pace, leaving people trapped between paycheck and rising bills. Then there are unexpected health issues, illness, or injury that drain savings and forces tough choices, often resulting in loss of housing. For others, fleeing domestic violence or unsafe situations means they have nowhere safe to go, increasing the risk of homelessness dramatically. But these individual struggles point to even bigger systemic failures. Decades of neglect in affordable housing development mean there simply aren't enough options for those who need them most. Mental health services remain woefully inadequate, leaving vulnerable individuals without the support they desperately require. And there's a common but mistaken belief that nonprofit charities can fill the gaps left by the government. While nonprofits do amazing work, they can't replace comprehensive public policy or funding. This isn't just a matter of numbers or statistics. It's a moral crisis, a reflection of how society often punishes the vulnerable instead of lifting them up. When you see the homeless in Florida, you're seeing the outcome of years of policy choices and societal neglect. So, I want to ask you, what do you think it will take for us to shift from blaming individuals to fixing the systems that create homelessness? How can communities and leaders come together to make real, lasting change? Political and legal response. In 2024, Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law HB 1365, a sweeping bill that, on paper, aims to restore public order by outlawing sleeping, resting, or camping in public parks, sidewalks, and even on Florida's iconic beaches. But make no mistake, this law is less about helping people in crisis and more about pushing them out of sight. It criminalizes homelessness rather than addressing its root causes. Under HB 1365, local governments are not only required to enforce these bans, but face legal pressure from private citizens and businesses who can sue if authorities fail to act. This creates a legal minefield for cash-strapped municipalities already struggling to provide basic services. Yet, despite these heavy-handed demands, the law provides no clear funding, no additional resources, and no meaningful guidelines to support local governments in caring for those displaced. The reality on the ground is harsh and unforgiving. People experiencing homelessness are constantly chased from one place to another, issued citations, fined, and denied even the dignity of rest. Imagine being forced to break your sleep repeatedly by law enforcement because you dared to find a moment's peace in a public park. The psychological toll of such harassment only deepens trauma and instability. Meanwhile, local officials scramble to comply, trying to juggle limited shelter space and minimal budgets. Many are left with no choice but to push vulnerable individuals into remote, unsafe areas, riverbanks, wooded lots, abandoned industrial zones, places far from any help, social services, or basic safety. This displacement doesn't solve homelessness. It worsens it by forcing people further into isolation and danger. This law is less a solution and more a symbolic gesture, a political show of toughness masking a systemic failure to provide affordable housing, mental health care, and supportive services. It's a policy that punishes poverty instead of alleviating it, perpetuating a cycle of suffering with no clear exit. So, here's the question: how many more lives must be disrupted? How many more nights spent in fear and exhaustion before policymakers wake up and realize that criminalization only digs the hole deeper? What will it take for Florida to shift from punishment to compassion and invest in real solutions? These harsh political choices don't exist in a vacuum. They fuel broader social consequences that ripple across communities and impact us all. Next, let's explore the profound social fallout of Florida's homelessness crisis and why it's more than just a problem for those without homes. Social consequences of the crisis. Homelessness is far more than just an individual tragedy. It's a full-blown community crisis that touches every corner of society. When thousands of people have no stable place to call home, the fallout isn't confined to them alone. It ripples outward, straining public systems and fraying the social fabric. Hospitals become overwhelmed with cases that could have been prevented with basic shelter and care, chronic illnesses worsen, injuries go untreated, and mental health crises escalate. Emergency rooms, not designed as long-term care facilities, become a revolving door for those with nowhere else to turn. This overburden not only costs lives, but drains resources that could be better used elsewhere. Law enforcement officers, too, are caught in a relentless cycle of managing homelessness as a public order issue rather than a social welfare concern. Instead of addressing root causes, police spend valuable time and energy dealing with nonviolent offenses linked to poverty, addiction, or untreated mental illness. This diverts focus from real crime prevention and fosters tension between communities and those they're meant to protect. The social divide grows wider. Communities become polarized, fear, frustration, and misunderstanding replace empathy and solidarity. Instead of uniting, neighbors turn away, stigmatizing those down on their luck as nuisances or worse. This loss of compassion deepens isolation for the homeless, making it even harder for them to break free from the cycle. All this adds up to a staggering social and economic cost, one that dwarfs the investment needed for effective solutions. Scientific studies repeatedly prove that programs like Housing First, which provide stable homes alongside supportive services, deliver better outcomes at a lower cost. These models reduce chronic homelessness dramatically, ease the strain on hospitals and police, and restore dignity to those affected. Yet too often, society chooses quick fixes and punitive measures over real change. The question is clear. How much longer will we accept policies that punish vulnerability instead of offering a genuine path forward? The problem of affordable housing shortage and economic pressure. One of the biggest challenges driving homelessness in Florida is the severe shortage of affordable housing. Right now, there are only about 34 affordable rental units available for every 100 extremely low-income renter households. This huge gap means that many families simply can't find a place they can afford, no matter how hard they try. At the same time, rents are rising much faster than wages. For many working people, especially those in low-wage jobs, this makes it nearly impossible to keep up. Even people who hold steady jobs often find themselves one unexpected expense away from losing their home, a car repair, a medical bill, or a temporary loss of income can quickly turn into a housing crisis. This economic pressure pushes entire communities out of neighborhoods they've lived in for years, forcing people to move further away from jobs, schools, and support networks. The instability doesn't just affect individuals. It tears apart families and weakens the fabric of communities. Without enough affordable homes, more and more people are squeezed into overcrowded living situations, forced to double up, or end up on the streets. Addressing this imbalance between supply and demand is critical if Florida hopes to reduce homelessness and create stable communities where everyone has a chance to thrive. Impact of natural disasters and health crises. Florida faces a unique and growing challenge when it comes to homelessness, partly driven by the increasing frequency and severity of natural disasters. Hurricanes, flooding, and extreme weather events are becoming more common, each one stripping away the fragile sense of stability for thousands of vulnerable residents. Take Hurricane Ian. For example, The storm didn't just damage homes and infrastructure. It triggered a sudden and sharp spike in the homeless population. Families who had just managed to scrape by found themselves without shelter overnight, and the state's recovery efforts struggled to keep pace. Unfortunately, long-term housing recovery plans were either insufficient or missing entirely, leaving many people displaced and scrambling to rebuild their lives on their own. But the physical destruction isn't the only crisis compounding the problem. Behind the visible toll of lost homes lies a hidden health emergency. Approximately 30% of Florida's homeless population suffers from serious mental health conditions or substance use disorders. These challenges make it even harder for individuals to find and maintain stable housing. Sadly, the support system they need is often missing or inadequate. Instead of comprehensive treatment and care, many end up caught in a revolving door of emergency rooms, jails, and temporary shelters. Places ill-equipped to address the root causes of their struggles. This gap in services isn't just a failure of healthcare, it's a failure of public policy. Rather than investing in accessible mental health care and addiction treatment, current approaches too often rely on punitive measures. People experiencing homelessness are ticketed, arrested, or forcibly removed from public spaces, which only adds to their instability and trauma. These actions do little to reduce homelessness and often exacerbate the very problems they're meant to solve. What's needed is a shift from punishment to support. Expanding access to mental health services, substance abuse treatment, and long-term supportive housing can break the cycle for many. These solutions not only improve lives but also reduce the burden on emergency services and the criminal justice system. It's time to recognize that homelessness, especially when linked with health crises and natural disasters, demands compassionate, coordinated responses, ones that treat people with dignity and provide real pathways back to stability. Without these changes, Florida's homeless population will continue to grow, caught in a perfect storm of environmental devastation and health challenges. But with the right focus and investment, there is hope to turn the tide. Uneven distribution and severity in key areas. In Florida, the stark contrast between luxury and destitution is glaringly evident. In Miami-Dade County, approximately 657 individuals experience homelessness, while the county boasts some of the nation's most expensive real estate. In Palm Beach County, nearly 1,600 people are unsheltered. Yet the region is renowned for its affluent communities and upscale living. These figures underscore a profound disparity. The wealthiest areas in the state also harbor the most significant homeless populations. This juxtaposition is not coincidental. High living costs, coupled with a shortage of affordable housing, have led to a situation where even full-time workers struggle to secure stable housing. For instance, Broward County has approximately 1,650 individuals seeking housing, yet only about 700 shelter beds are available. Such imbalances force many into precarious living situations, often just steps away from opulent condos and luxury boutiques. The recent enactment of HB 1365, a law criminalizing public camping, further exacerbates this issue. While intended to address public safety concerns, the law has been criticized for lacking adequate support systems for the homeless. Local governments are left to navigate this challenge with limited resources, often resorting to temporary solutions like tiny home villages or sanctioned encampments. This scenario highlights a pressing need for comprehensive policies that not only address the visible aspects of homelessness but also tackle its root causes. Without such measures, The divide between Florida's affluent communities and its homeless populations will continue to widen, leaving many without the support they desperately need. Solutions and calls to action. In Florida, a glaring contrast exists between the state's booming real estate market and the escalating homelessness crisis. While luxury condos and vacation rentals flourish, over 31,000 individuals find themselves without stable housing. This disparity underscores a systemic failure to address the needs of the most vulnerable. The state's affordable housing shortage is stark. Florida has only 25 affordable and available rental homes for every 100 extremely low-income households. Additionally, over 2.4 million low-income households in Florida spend more than 30% of their income on housing, with over 1.3 million spending more than 50%. Despite a growing inventory of single-family homes, the majority serve as primary residences, leaving limited options for renters. Addressing this crisis requires a multifaceted approach that begins with investing in truly affordable housing by prioritizing the construction and preservation of units accessible to low-income individuals and families. Implementing housing-first models is essential, providing stable housing without preconditions and following up with supportive services to tackle underlying issues. Enhancing support services such as expanding access to mental health care, substance abuse treatment, and job training programs is also critical to help individuals regain stability. Furthermore, housing policies must be reformed to shift away from punitive measures toward approaches that offer real support and clear pathways out of homelessness. Florida's prosperity should be inclusive, ensuring that all residents have access to safe and affordable housing. Only through comprehensive and compassionate policies can the state effectively bridge the widening gap between its affluent communities and its homeless populations. The role of community and individuals. Each of us has a role to play in addressing the homelessness crisis. It starts with supporting local charities and organizations that are on the ground, providing essential services and shelter to those in need. But beyond donating money or time, raising your voice matters just as much. Speaking up for affordable housing policies and standing against laws that punish people for being homeless helps shift public perception and pressure decision-makers to act more compassionately. Volunteering, donating, or even simply refusing to stay silent sends a powerful message that these lives matter. Silence can feel easier, but it often means turning away from pain and hardship that's right in front of us. When we choose to speak out, we give those who are often invisible a chance to be seen and treated with the dignity they deserve. What small step can you take today to support the homeless in your community? Share your thoughts and ideas in the comments. Your voice could inspire someone else to act. Conclusion. Florida is known as the Sunshine State, but that sunshine only reaches a fortunate few. Homelessness isn't inevitable or some natural fate. It's the result of choices made about budgets and social policies. Each of us has the power to be a voice for those forgotten by society. If this story moved you, please share it, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Together, we can raise awareness and take action so that people without homes are seen and treated with the dignity they deserve. Homelessness in America is a crisis we can no longer ignore. The time to act is now.